play the player, don't play the game. And this is a saying that comes from poker. I never really understood it. It took me a long time to kind of really process and think, what does that really mean? What it means, and it's true in real estate, and it's true in when you're reading any market, when you're trying to make decisions, you have to work to look at the human psychology, because the human psychology is what's moving the market. The human psychology is what's helping people decide whether they want to buy this house or whether they don't want to buy this house. You know, I'm in Coconut Grove right now, and I spent so many years going around talking to these different owners and buyers and sellers and kind of figuring out what they're going to do next. And every time that I've managed to figure out what they're going to do next, it's not because I've spent so much time just looking at spreadsheets and numbers, it's because I've reflected on the people that I've met and what they've said to me, and it's kind of resonated, and I thought, oh, okay, so this crowd of people right now are incredibly bullish and hopeful of this part of the market. So the market's going to do well, and it has done. Or other people are saying, I'm really scared right now. I'm really scared about what I'm feeling about what's going on over here. So I'm going to pull back, and then you see it happen in the market. So, true in poker, true in real estate, generally true in life. Play the player, don't play the game. One of my other points is the cheap becomes expensive, and I'm actually standing here with a new constructed home right behind me. This is a good backdrop to kind of emphasize the importance of the difference between spec homes and custom homes that I've learned over the last 10 years. I can tell you that, you know, people look for new homes all the time, and they go on the paper and they go, oh, it's built 2019, 2018, and they assume it's all the same. It's not. You really got to understand the difference between spec and custom, and I've learned this thanks to my lovely wife, who is actually in the business. She's a famous architect and designer. She owns a company called Design Solutions. Welcome to look them up. And they work at a very high level. And what I've seen with spec builders is that they will build a home designed to make money. They want to sell it. They're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it as profit. So as we're shooting this, my phone goes off, and this always happens when I'm shooting video. And it brings me to one of my other points, which is, and that was a caller from New York talking about investing in the Miami market and buying a condo. And this, obviously, Miami is a very hotbed area to talk about buying and investing. What I've learned over the last 10 years is that ROI, return on investment, and labor intensivity go hand in hand. What do I mean by that? If you're going to buy something that is going to give you a very high yield, a very high return, let's say 8, 9, 10%, then typically you're going to have to get involved in it. It's not going to make money on its own. You're going to have to massage it, look after it. You can't just drop a bunch of money into real estate and then next year you get a massive fat return. If you aren't living in town in Miami and you're living apart, that's fine, but you're going to have to hire someone, you have to hire a management company, you're going to have to understand that there are costs involved with it. And the higher the return, the higher the labor intensivity. Everybody thinks their baby is the most beautiful. I don't know if you've heard that saying before. I didn't hear that saying until I got to the US, but I've heard it a million times now. And it kind of reflects on real estate. So what does that mean? It means that everybody thinks their house is the most beautiful house, and that everybody is going to appreciate what they appreciate. And they're going to be able to recognize all those intrinsic, unique values of their home that will allow them to hit a number that no one else has hit. And it makes their house special. Their house is special, that's why they're going to get the best number. I hate to burst the bubble, but if I've learned anything in 10 years, I've learned that not everyone's baby is the most beautiful. It just can't happen like that. And over time, it just leads to frustrated sellers. So I think it's important that whenever you're selling, no matter how nice and how many intrinsic values there are and emotional elements to the home that really speak to you, you have to play within the game. You have to play within the parameters of the market. And this is really directed at sellers. Which brings me, appropriately, to one of my other points, the important things that I've learned of 10 years in the market, which is knowing how to read the market. If there's probably one indicator that I think is most relevant and most important to help you understand what's going on in your market, and when you read my reports you'll see, it's months of inventory. Okay. Now you'll probably hear me talking about this all the time. You've watched other one of my videos, you'll know exactly the kind of dialogue I usually have. And again, let me explain what months of inventory is. supply-demand economics. Probably, I think my first semester studying economics at university, the first thing that probably came out of the lecturer's mouth was understand your supply-demand curve, understand the ratios of supply and demand, because that will determine what's going to happen within the market. Months of inventory, very simply, is that that information turned into a figure that will help us determine whether the market's going up or down. 9 to 12 months is a balanced amount of inventory for either the single-family home market or the condo market. It does change a little bit depending once you move up the spectrum, but it's very, very important, because nowhere on the planet will you see 100 months of inventory and prices are going up. It doesn't happen. If you've got that much supply, prices literally will correct. That much supply and not enough clients to buy it, you have stuff staying static, and then prices will correct. So, months of inventory, number one golden rule for real estate economics. Hey Marinella, take this $20, in fact take $100,000 out of my bank account and go and buy me $100,000 of lottery tickets, please. Okay. You'll never hear me say. Why? Because that's insane, and statistically it is about a $25 million in one chance of me actually winning the lottery. So I don't take those kind of odds, and I don't expect you as a seller to take those odds either. In fact, I would advise you against it. This is really a point that I'm making about the homeowners who come in and say to me, and it's happened in 10 years, David, I need this price for my house. Or I'm going to stick on this price. Why? Because I just need that one buyer who believes that I can get, they'll give me for my house or my condo what I really want. That one buyer who completely buys in to all the elements and the variables of my home and loves it, and regardless of what the market says, and regardless of what the comps say, regardless of the appraisal, they're still going to pay me my number. So just list it, because hey, maybe I get that one buyer. Okay. I'm in the business of selling real estate, not accumulating listings, and I think it's important to have that, I'm not going to call it courage, I'm going to call it conviction. And again, if you look at one of my other points when I talk about Zillow and I compare it to The Wizard of Oz, conviction is a very important part of the real estate trilogy, and being able to turn to people and be sincere and give them good advice based on solid ground, not whimsical dreams and ideas. It's all too easy to come in and say, you know what, I'll bring you that 1 in a million buyer. No, I've seen sellers go in and list their home with the agent who promises them the highest possible price, despite what the market says. So everything should be grounded with a certain amount of realization and justification, because if you can't, you're so unlikely to sell, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get annoyed, you're not going to get anywhere, and it's just not going to work out well. So for all those out there who want to get the best possible number for their home, hey, we'll work with you, but let's do it within the parameters of what's possible in the market. Zillow is like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. Okay, that's probably going to sound really abstract, but let me explain. So, for those who have read The Wizard of Oz or seen the film or kind of have some idea of the story, there's really three main characters. There's four main characters. There's Dorothy, and then there's the three companions that she meets along the way. There's the lion, there's the scarecrow, and there's the Tin Man. And the Tin Man didn't have a heart. And it's interesting because if you look at the elements within real estate, one of the things that I realize, having been in the business for 10 years, is that I don't fear Zillow. A lot of agents over the time, we've seen things evolve, and tech has become this really big driving force in the last 10 years, and I've always embraced it. I think it's actually a tool that you can use. I'm basically what I would classify as an agent driving tech, not tech driving an agent. And what that really has helped me with, and what that really means, is that I recognize that technology has a role to play. Technology like Zillow enables you to understand, algorithms and systems of predictive models. But here's the thing, predictive models can only take you so far, because it doesn't factor in something very, very important, which is the human psychology. And the human psychology is really the heart of it, because what we do emotionally and what we make decisions when we buy homes, there's a reason why there is a saying, home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is, and the heart actually chooses that home initially because you go into a space and you go, this feels right. I'm saying this feels like home. I do that all the time. I take clients into houses and I say, sit down on the sofa and tell me, does this feel like home? So 1,000 or 1,000,000 internal calculations that figure out whether or not something feels right or not. And some of those variables are definitely intangible.